Terry Gross, Mr. O'Reilly, you've walked out on interviews before when the questioning got tough. Is leaving the only way you can maintain control when you're not the one asking the questions? Hello, I'm Terry Gross, and welcome to this special episode where we're examining one of the most talked about moments in Fresh Air history, the day Bill O'Reilly abruptly ended our interview. If you've ever wondered what happens when a high-profile interview goes sideways, today's episode offers a rare behind-the-scenes look at broadcast journalism when tensions rise and power dynamics shift. I'll be sharing not just what happened that day, but the preparation that went into the interview, what I was thinking as it unfolded, and the larger implications for media discourse in America. In the next 15 minutes, we'll explore my approach to challenging interviews. Then we'll examine the specific exchange with O'Reilly that led to his departure. And finally, we'll discuss what this incident reveals about media accountability and the art of the interview in today's polarized landscape. As you can see in the thumbnail, we've included the actual moment when O'Reilly removed his microphone, a rare visual from what was primarily an audio interview. That moment represents something profound about the nature of difficult conversation in public discourse. Before we dive into the interview itself, I'd like to share something about my process that most listeners don't see. For every interview on Fresh Air, I prepare extensively, reading books, watching performances, listening to previous interviews. What you're seeing is my actual copy of O'Reilly's book from that time period. I approach each interview with this level of detail, circling key points, typing up notes based on what I've highlighted. This preparation isn't just about gathering information. It's about finding the spaces between what someone has already said publicly and what might reveal something deeper about their thinking. I'm wondering if you've ever had a conversation where you felt the other person had really done their homework on you. If you have, maybe hit like on this video, because that preparation is exactly what I believe makes for meaningful dialogue. And if you subscribe, you'll see how this approach creates conversations that go beyond surface-level talking points. When preparing for the O'Reilly interview, I was particularly interested in exploring how he viewed his own power as a media figure. I've always wanted to ask figures with significant platforms how they understand their responsibility, not as a gotcha question, but because I genuinely believe it matters how influential voices perceive their impact. Let me take you to the day of the interview. Unlike most of my conversations today, this was conducted remotely, O'Reilly in his studio, me in mine. There's something about that separation that changes the dynamic slightly. The invisibility of radio creates a unique intimacy for interviews that can lead to more personal conversations than face-to-face encounters sometimes. But in this case, that distance perhaps made it easier for O'Reilly to disengage when the conversation became challenging. Let me play you a portion of that interview. Terry, you write in your book that you're concerned about reverse discrimination against white men in America. Given that white men still hold most positions of power in America, in corporations, in politics, in media, could you explain what you mean by that? O'Reilly, well, look, Terry, I think that's a loaded question. The fact is that there are laws and policies in place that give preference based on ethnicity and gender. That's reverse discrimination, plain and simple. Terry, I'm wondering if you could address, though, why you see this as a significant problem when statistics show white men still dominate leadership positions across most industries. O'Reilly, you know what, Terry? I've spent enough time on this. This interview is not what I was told it would be. This is basically an attack on me and my book, and I'm not interested in participating. What's fascinating to me about this exchange is not just that O'Reilly left, but what it reveals about the boundaries of certain conversations. When someone with a platform is accustomed to controlling the narrative, what happens when they're asked to examine their own statements critically? If you're finding this analysis valuable, subscribing to this channel means you'll get more deep dives into these pivotal media moments that shape our public discourse. These conversations matter now more than ever. After O'Reilly left the interview, there was significant media coverage. Some viewed it as proof of his unwillingness to engage with challenging questions, while others saw it as a reasonable response to what they perceived as hostile questioning. What I found most revealing wasn't the walkout itself, but what it symbolized about power in media. Conversations. When I reflected on this moment years later, I realized it exemplified something central to interview dynamics: the unspoken negotiation between interviewer and subject about what questions are permissible. I've been conducting interviews nationally on Fresh Air for over 30 years now, even longer if you count my time before national syndication. In that time, I've developed what you might call a soft pivot approach to difficult questions. The technique involves moving from comfortable territory to more challenging areas with phrases like, "I'm wondering if," or "I've always wanted to ask you about." This creates a space where tough questions feel like natural extensions of curiosity rather than confrontations. But sometimes, no matter how carefully you frame a question, the subject isn't willing to engage. And that itself becomes a revealing moment. I'm curious, have you ever experienced a conversation where someone abruptly shut down when challenged? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences help us understand these dynamics in everyday life, not just high-profile interviews. What makes this O'Reilly moment particularly relevant today is how it foreshadowed certain patterns in media. Discourse. When public figures can simply exit conversations they find challenging, whether by walking out of interviews or creating their own media platforms where they're never challenged, what happens to accountability? The sick burn, if you will, wasn't anything I said directly to O'Reilly. It was simply asking questions that required him to defend his own statements, questions he ultimately couldn't or wouldn't answer. In the years since this interview, I've thought often about what makes a conversation valuable versus what makes it comfortable. They're not always the same thing. Sometimes the most important conversations contain moments of tension or discomfort, not because anyone is being attacked, but because meaningful exchange requires vulnerability. If you found value in this analysis, please subscribe to continue exploring these pivotal media moments with me. Each episode examines conversations that shaped our understanding of public figures and the issues they represent. Before we end today, I want to invite you to watch our next video, The Art of the Interview. Terry Gross reveals her most challenging conversations and life-changing moments, where I'll share more insights from my career, including the interviews that changed my own perspective in unexpected ways. You'll find the link in the description below. And I'd love to hear from you. What interview moment has stayed with you over the years, and why? Your comments not only help this channel grow, but create a community of people who value thoughtful conversation in an age of sound bites. This is Terry Gross. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join me next time on Fresh Air.